I got myself a new e-bike sponsor recently, and it's rad, but it hasn't made me any better at riding. Or has it? Before I let CT out the bag and show you the new bike, I want to explain that Bird is still my mountain bike sponsor. I reached out to them to see if they're planning on making an e-bike, and they said they're holding off and normal bikes are still their priority. They did say that their team riders are free to source their own e-bikes or e-bike sponsor, so that's what I did. I'm not solely focusing on riding a single type of bike though, and I'm currently working with Bird on a couple of new bikes which I hope to show you soon. With that explained, it's time to reveal who my new e-bike sponsor is. It's Static Bikes. A bit like my new trial sponsor, Story, Static might be a new brand to you. I'll take you through some of the info on the brand, the specs of the bike, and then some riding clips with my thoughts on how I think it's made me faster. Static is a relatively new UK brand based in Blackburn, and this is their only current model, the Shreddy, which is one of the better e-bike names I've seen. The Shreddy is a passion project of John Harden, which evolved into a full-blown business. John has spent plenty of time in Asia visiting the vast number of frame manufacturers to make sure the quality is to the highest standard, and I think it's paid off. This is one of the nicer looking e-bikes out there in my opinion. It has a 4-carbon frame with a chunky alloy rocker, which uses a 4-bar horse-link layout to give 150mm of travel, and uses a Shimano EP801 motor with 630 Wh or 504 Wh battery options. The motor is fully enclosed to give a little bit more protection too. And speaking of protection, you also get the option of shark wrap to make the frame look nicer for longer. It rolls on 29-inch wheels, and my medium with a 170mm fork has a 440mm seat tube length, 460mm reach, 64.5 degree head angle, 450mm chainstays, and 619mm stack. If you want to know more, Static's website has all the details. To gain access to the battery, there's a big hatch on the down tube, but you can also charge the bike via a port on the non-drive side seat tube. One really cool touch is that if you buy the race spec model, you actually get 2 batteries. Ideal for those longer trips away or races, and I'm sure I don't need to tell you just how much it is to buy a spare battery separately. Components wise, my bike is the race spec model with some adjustments for my component sponsors, and Static can customize the spec if needed. RockShox are doing the squishy duties with the Vivid Ultimate Shock and Z Ultimate Fork. I'll let you know my thoughts on these later in the video. The race spec uses Shimano's electronic XT Di2 shifter and mech, which is wired into the frame's battery, so you don't have to worry about forgetting to charge it. And if you're wondering what this is, it's a mech protector from Branchy. It's a tough bit of plastic that helps deflect branches or flying rocks and keeps your expensive mech working for longer. It's also just handy for keeping the mech clean too. They sent me a few to try, including this one which matches my frame nicely. It won't stop damage in huge crashes, but considering I don't notice it's there, I think it's worth using. Static also provides some protection with a modern damped chainstay protector, plus they supply a spare just in case this one wears out. One drivetrain item that's not standard is the pinned cranks. Even though they're not an official sponsor anymore, I still like their products and enjoy using shorter cranks on e-bikes. Their 155mm models work well, so it was a no-brainer to use them. Pedals are also changed from spec. GTS is a new sponsor of mine, so of course I have a pair on this bike too. They're slim, tough, spin well, and have a great balance of grip without feeling stuck if you need to micro-adjust. Not quite a new sponsor, but the wheels are another change of spec and pretty damn interesting. There's something I hope to expand on in a dedicated video, so I'll just do a quick rundown for now. The rims are light bicycle e-bike specific models left over from a previous sponsorship, but the interesting parts are the hubs. These are COM hubs, short for King of the Mountain, and are a UK made product. The quality's up there with the best I've ever seen, and there's a few interesting features. The front hub looks fairly standard, but does have straight pull spokes, and oddly, a roll-off 4-bolt style disc mount. But the rear hub is where the quirks really happen. This hub has its ratchet on the left-hand side, which allows a huge oversized axle and bigger ratchet in general. It still pedals like a normal hub, but you get the advantage of a much stronger axle, much better bearings, and more reliable engagement. All 120 of them. This bigger left-hand side ratchet does come at a compromise though, and that there's no room for a normal 6-bolt rotor. So Com decided to use a larger diameter pattern. There are other rotors available to fit this size from most bigger brands, but the Com rotors are almost a story on their own, which I'll save for a future deep dive video. Let's just say they're not an afterthought. To go with the rotors, I'm using brakes from my other new sponsor, Lewis. This bike has their LHP S4 models, and like a few of their other models, features a ton of adjustability. I'm particularly interested to try the leverage adjustment on the most powerful setting that makes the brakes have the softest feel. I feel most riders like stiff levers, but personally I suffer from really bad arm pump, and I want to see if the softer lever will help. If not, I can simply adjust them to be as stiff as any other brake out there. It's such a cool feature. This model uses built-in cooling fins too. Brakes on e-bikes can get especially hot, so any little help to keep them cool and avoid fading is a good thing. Tyre-wise, Schwalbe are another sponsor of mine, but Static are working with Schwalbe too. I'm using an Albert tyre on the rear. I got sent this before they were available and was sent blacked out. They're the super soft compound with downhill casing. I have a tacky chant up front, and again in super soft compound and downhill casing. I'm not sure if this is the usual combo, but it's what I had, and there's a chance they would work better swapped, but I'll let you know my thoughts soon. The finishing touches include a RockShox Reverb wireless dropper. This is my first time with one of these, and so far I'm really liking it. This is also part of the race spec, and bikes will be updated with the latest model as soon as possible. The saddle itself is a Static own brand. As far as own brand seats go, this is one of the nicer looking ones, and I can report that it's pretty comfy too, with very little numbing happening. Static also provide their own bars too. I haven't actually looked to see their angles, but they do feel natural. I'm in no rush to replace them. To add a bit of pimpness, a Bergtech stem tops things off. My bike was also supplied with plenty of spaces for me to play with bar heights, but so far I've not felt like I've needed to move it. My bike was also supplied with Bergtech grips, but as an experiment to help relieve arm pump, I've changed them to a pair of Ergon GDH teams. Oh, and because I live in Scotland, a Mudhugger mudguard is usually a must-have. Usually. So that's the bike, but why did I approach Static? And most importantly, how does it ride? I've been on a handful of rides on it, so I'll share some POV clips and explain why I messaged them and some reasons why I think this has made me a much faster rider, despite the opening clips of this video. Now, this isn't the first time I've actually sat on a Static. I chanced upon one a few years ago and had a quick bounce. I instantly liked it, but I already had an e-bike from my sponsor at the time, Pivot. I looked more into the brand after that and liked what I saw, but that was as far as I could take it. Once I left Pivot, I made a deal with Bird Bikes and ended up selling the e-bike. For some reason, that bike didn't quite gel with me. After a while with no e-bike, I missed having one, and I got blessings from Bird to find myself a new e-bike deal. I had actually had messages from big bike brands willing to give me a bike, but one issue was they also made normal bikes, and I wanted to minimize as much conflict with Bird as possible. That's when I messaged Static, as I knew I liked the bike, and they don't make any non-electric models, so no direct clashes with Bird, and similar to Bird, I like the idea of them being a smaller UK brand. Also, like Bird, I thought this bike was great value. They offered two models, the Shreddy Trail that comes with RockShox suspension, XT drivetrain, Magura brakes, one-up dropper, Bergtech parts, plus more for just under £5,500. Or the race version I have with top-of-the-range RockShox suspension, Hope brakes, electronic shifting and dropper, and two batteries for just under £7,000. As a comparison, other bigger name brands seem to offer this type of spec for many thousands more. On top of the value aspect, the customer support was also a huge help in my decision making. John is honestly a super nice guy who's passionate about what he does, and being a one-man band has everything to lose if customers aren't satisfied. Every customer automatically gets race support at any event Static are at. They also get full membership to Havoc Bike Park near Todmorden in Lancashire. I'll do a video about that place at some point too. John also organises media days where team riders and customers are invited to spend a day riding with a filmer to collect content for Static and the riders to share. In the unlikely event that something breaks or goes wrong, I have no doubt John will do anything and everything in his power to sort things out and make things right again. Now, for the elephant in the room. My claims that this bike has made me a faster rider. Well, it's true that I'm still a little shite at corners. They're certainly my Achilles heel. But something has definitely changed since getting this bike, and I've never, ever quite had this level of confidence to just let go of the brakes and fly like I have with this bike. I don't think I can pin it to a single reason though. This bike has all new geometry to me, more travel than I'm used to, different brakes with a new softer feel, and it's my first time with these tyres, and the weather's been particularly nice recently, but I will try and break things down a bit. This trail is Big Bore at Golfy. I've ridden it once before a year or so ago, and then once each day over this weekend. Previously, I've found it quite harsh and I've had to stop multiple times to shake out my hands due to arm pump. On this bike, I felt way more chilled and was able to stay off the brakes and let it do its thing. The bike felt calm enough for me to hit lines and gaps I've never felt confident to do previously. Now, I'm not saying I'm pro racer fast or anything, but I was certainly faster than before, less fatigued, and had way more fun. I feel this could be the bigger wheels rolling better, combined with a slacker head angle and longer chainstays. But I also felt like the suspension was working extremely well. This could simply be that it has more travel, but the pivot had more and didn't feel as good. Maybe it's RockShox rather than Fox, or maybe the frame has a really good platform. Either way, these trails are rough, yet through a combination of all these points, I was going much faster than normal with much less fatigue.
That was sick.
I am tempted to try a coil rear shock though. I've never had one before and I do wonder if that could increase the confidence even more. My concern is losing a little pop, as I do like to use the occasional rock or root as a kicker, and I have to admit, this Vivid feels amazing. And I must say, for a 25 kilo bike, it does have a decent pop to it and love to get airborne. These roller gaps are tricky and I've not managed them on a normal bike yet. I feel I'm becoming more of a fan of RockShox the more I use them. The Zeb out of the box with just a sag and rebound set feels so good. The small bump feel, mid-stroke support, and bottom out resistance is all great. Wheel-wise, apparently Static can supply the bike with a mullet setup, but so far I've not had any buzzing issues even down the steep stuff. I'm 177 centimeters or 5'10", with average proportions if that helps. Tyre-wise, I've been seriously impressed. It's been mostly dry since using them, so I can't comment on muddy trails or slippery routes, but in these dry conditions, I've absolutely loved them. I almost put the lighter walled versions on, but I'm glad I stuck with the full downhill ones. I'm sure that goes a long way towards the confidence feeling the bike was giving me. I'm going to sing praises for the Lewis brakes too. I know I'm kind of reviewing products I'm sponsored by and risk including some bias, but believe me when I say I don't just run products for the money. I only run products I like and I think works well. And work well, these Lewis brakes do. I had a few people try them and, as predicted, they all said they didn't like the squishy lever feel I was experimenting with. I do wonder what they'd think if they rode the bike though, as it's one thing to try them stood still and another when riding a trail. It's a different kind of braking. Rather than power being a result of force applied to the lever, it's now power being a result of where you pull the lever to. Personally, I find pulling on a lever that doesn't move once engaged really hard work on my hands. To increase power, I have to increase pressure and I end up gripping the bars harder. This might just be a me issue where I find it hard to isolate finger strength with hand strength, but the Lewis lever in its soft setting, it only takes a little more pressure on my finger to move the lever and get more power. Now, instead of straining to pull harder for more power, I just move the blade closer. Dale Stone tested some Hope V4 brakes on his channel recently, which also have a softer feel, and he came to the same conclusion, only better explained. It's a different way to think about braking, and since trying them like this, I'm sold. I got almost zero arm pump even on the longest, roughest trails, and that's never happened before. It might not be 100% the brakes, as the bigger wheels and suspension will also help too, but I do think the brakes helped considerably. Now, so far, I've just focused on the downhill performance, but being an e-bike, this thing loves to climb too. This is the climb up to the top of Feed the Pony at the back of Golfy, and if you know it is an absolute brute, and only the most hardcore, fittest riders would ever attempt to climb it. But pop the bike into boost mode, and it turns a 15-minute sweaty push into a 3-minute lapping machine. This is a game changer if you're tight for time or wanting to get laps as a training aid. Battery-wise, my bike has a 630 watt-hour battery, and I experimented. One day I kept it in boost and managed a couple of hours riding at around 3 bottom to top of Golfy. It took me 15 minutes from the nearby car park to the very top, which is absolute madness. My record on a normal bike is 45 minutes. Sadly, I didn't have Strava on, so I can't give you the full stats for that ride, but I did have it on for the next ride, where I mostly kept it in eco mode, other than 2 boosts up this climb. And on one battery, I did 25 miles with just under 6,000 foot of climbing and over 4.5 hours of moving time. Though one thing to note, once the battery is dead, so are your gears, as they're wired in. Once the motor cuts out, you have maybe a couple of minutes before there's not enough charge for the gears, and you'll be stuck in whatever one you're in. So yeah, this bike's rad, and I'm definitely faster than I've ever felt. I've honestly never been on a bike that encourages you to let off the brakes and fly like this one does, and that's including previous e-bikes I've ridden. Quite a few of these clips were blind runs on new trails. I even got 6th fastest on no social distancing with a blind run, so the bike's definitely doing something for me. If you're looking for a great value e-bike that's capable of going fast, going far and going high, with great looks and customer service, please consider Static as your next bike. If you do, I'd love it if you can mention me in the process to let John know this support is worthwhile. I'll link to their website in the description, and they're active on socials, so go give them a follow. If full fat e-bikes aren't your thing, Static is working on getting a lighter design to the market, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I've not reached the potential of this bike yet, so I'm keen to get out more and increase my fitness and speed. I'm under no impressions that I'm anywhere near race winning pace, but I would like to get some Enduros this year, so maybe I'll see you there. I hope you like this bike, I hope you like this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Take care, have a good one, bye bye.